This is a book review of the famous book, with 10 million copies sold, in 46 countries, by Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog. Mark Twain once said, that if the first thing you do each morning, is to eat a live frog, you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that is probably the worst thing that is going to happen to you all day long. Your frog, is your biggest, most important task, the one you are most likely to procrastinate on if you don't do something about it. Just imagine that you really have to eat a live frog. Whether you eat it first thing in the morning, or late at night, you still have to eat it. So, isn't it better to get it done early in the morning? And you can have less thing to worry the whole day? Rather than you keep thinking about the frog that you haven't eaten, and make you worry the whole day. So, if you have an important work that you have to do it the earliest in the day. Start right away. Don't procrastinate. If you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. This is another way of saying that if you have 2 important tasks before you, start with the biggest, hardest, and most important task first. Discipline yourself to begin immediately and then to persist until the task is complete, before you go on to something else. Here are some takeaways from the book, on what you can do to stop procrastinating and get more things done, faster. Number 1, set the table. Decide exactly what you want. Clarity is essential. Write out your goals and objectives before you begin. Make it a habit to always plan before you start. Plan every day in advance. Make it a habit to plan daily. Think on paper. Make sure you write down your plan, so it's visible to you. Some people think that planning is a waste of their time. They would prefer to start doing the task right away. But normally, it is the opposite. Planning normally saves you time. Every minute you spend in planning can save you 5 or 10 minutes in execution. Practice the law of forced efficiency that says there's never enough time to do everything, but there's always enough time to do the most important things. You might have many important things to do, and it is impossible to do everything in our limited time. That is why you have to choose the most important ones, and do it first. There's always enough time to complete the most important ones. Choose the ugliest and the biggest frog to eat. Which one is yours? Apply the 80-20 rule to everything. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, states that, for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. It can refer to the type of task, or at certain time. For example, I absolutely find it true, that 80% of the content I actually did, in most of my videos, are done in 20% of the time I often spend, on editing. One big key to avoid procrastination is to learn to recognize, and harness that 20%. When you're productive, ride the train until you stop being productive. And do this regardless of when the project is due. It's far better to spend an hour now, when your mind is in gear and you're able to really knock out some work, than to spend 4 hours later where it takes all you've got to squeeze out just a little result. Use the ABCDE method continuously. Try to make a daily to-do list. And list by categories. Type A being the most important, and Type E being the least. Type A task is something that is very important, something that you must do. This is a task that will have serious positive or negative consequences, if you do it, or fail to do it, like meeting your key client, or finishing your assignment before deadline. The rule is, you should not do a B task, when A task is left undone. C task is something that would be nice to do, but there are no consequences at all, whether you do it or not. D task is something that you can give to someone else. And E task is something that you can eliminate altogether, and it won't make any difference. Put the pressure on yourself. You can trick yourself by imagining that you have to leave town for a month, and work as if you had to get all your major tasks completed before you left. This can help you pressure yourself to finish the work now, and stop procrastinating. And lastly, motivate yourself into action. Be your own cheerleader. Look for the good in every situation. Focus on the solution rather than the problem. And always be optimistic and constructive. So that is a brief summary on the book, Eat That Frog, by Brian Tracy. If you're really committed to cutting procrastination out of your life, Eat That Frog is one of the best books around.